Hey, welcome guys. We are in the textbook and we're working in Chapter 11. Chapter 11 focuses on getting documents ready to print. And so we will be preparing them, packaging them. We will be, let me close out this book so I can get that out of your way. We will be preparing, packaging, and exporting documents for print. And we're going to start out with an exercise on page 11-8, and you should open 11-1 InDesign document, and we're going to do a file, and we're going to save this as Oahu to print. And once you've done that, we want to verify that the screen mode is set to normal view so that the guides are visible. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to reset my essentials so I can find my information. And it is set to normal or W. We're going to go to File on the menu bar. We're going to go to Document Setup. And you'll see that the document size is 6 by 7.5 inches, and that's the trim size. We're going to put a bleed on, and we're going to type 0.125 in the bleed section for top, bottom, inside, and out. And if you just click on this little link, it will automatically fill in those other text boxes. And then we're going to click OK. And then you want to compare your page to figure 32 or mine on the screen. And you'll see what happened is that this is the trim line, the actual size of the document, and then this is the bleed line. We are going to click the selection tool, and in the meantime I wanted to mention that the bleed guide appears and it defines the bleed area, which is 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch outside the trim size on all four sides. We're going to select the blue frame, and then we're going to drag the frame corners to the bleed guide, which would be like this. And again, we're dragging it outside the trim line to the bleed line. And your document should resemble mine on the screen or figure 13 in the textbook. This, as we've discussed in class before, gives the printer, the bindery operator in the print area, a little bit of wiggle room so that if when he's trimming it, he trims it a little close, he won't see unsightly edges here or trims it too far over the edge. He'll see instead the color that's extended right to the trim. All right, now we're going to create a slug, and we're going to go to File on the menu bar. We're going to click Document Setup. We're going to type 0.5 in the top, bottom, inside, and outside slug areas. And then click OK. And then you want to compare my screen or the page to figure 14 in your textbook. And a slug guide appears defining the slug area, which is again 1/2 of an inch outside the trim size. Now we're going to drag the text frame from the pasteboard onto the slug area. At the right side of the document. Then we're going to change the stroke color of the text frame to none. Let's see, I'm going to select this first. We're going to go over here and bring the stroke up to the foreground, and we're going to choose none. It's easier for me to go over here to swatches. None. And then we are going to get the type tool and type inside the following in the text frame. So we're going to say printer, any questions? Call me at 800-555-1212. We're going to get the selection tool. We're going to position the text frame in the same location as shown in figure 15, or you'll see on mine in just a moment here. We want to verify that the text frame is still selected, which it is. We're going to click on the Formatting Effects Text button on the swatches panel, and then we're going to change that fill color to registration. And with the registration fill, like we just added, the slug text will appear on all printing plates if the document is color separated. And again, giving the printer a quick reference to whom to call if there's issues. You can also use this slug area for a team design to give team comments as you pass it along from one team member to the next. So again, the slug area. Now we're going to preview bleeds and slugs. So we're going to get the preview button at the bottom of the tools panel. And you'll see that in the preview mode, neither the bleed nor the slug are visible. Your tools panel must be set to 2 rows to see the preview button at the bottom. Let's see. Well, that's really not what I want to do. I want to give you 2 rows, so there you go, in order to see this at the bottom. Otherwise, you just simply have to click and hold on one or the other. We're going to press and hold the preview button until you see the bleed and slug buttons, and then we're going to click the bleed button. Now you see the bleed. Bleed mode shows the document in the bleed area, and then once you click and hold the bleed button, you should be able to find the slug area. Click on the slug button and you'll see what the slug is available. Now we're going to click the normal button. All right, now to print bleeds, slugs, and printer's marks, we're going to go to File on the menu bar. We're going to click Print, and we're going to verify that the copies set to 1, pages are set to all, and then we're going to click Setup in the box on the left. You don't want to click the Setup in Windows or Page Setup in Mac button at the bottom of the dialog box. You saw that I just pointed my arrow down there. You want to make sure that you click on Setup here in the Print dialog box for InDesign. Now we're going to click the Paper Size List arrow. We're going to click Letter. And then we're going to click the Page Position List arrow. And we're going to select Centered. And you'll see that that centers it both horizontally as well as vertically. And then we're going to click the Marks and Bleed category. In the Marks section, we're going to click All Printers Check Marks. We're going to check that box. And then we're going to click the Offset Setup arrow until the value reads 0.375. The offset value specifies how far outside the trim that the crop and bleed marks will be positioned. This is something to consider if you have bleed elements. Let's say your bleed is 1/4 inch, which is standard. And since you don't want your crop marks inside the bleed element, you'd set the offset to 1/4 inch or 0.25 or greater. That way the crop marks are positioned outside the bleed. In the bleed and slug section, verify that the used document bleed settings checkbox is checked, which mine is. And then your dialog box should resemble figure 18 in the text box or mine on the screen. And then we're going to click print. And depending on where you are and what printer that would go to, my printer is not hooked up at the moment, so I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to pause that, and then ultimately I'm going to delete it. And you don't need to print yours either. This is something once you save your work, you're going to export it as a PDF, and you can upload this to the assignment tab in Blackboard. And I'll be back in just a moment.